This is Will, and you're listening to The Law Schoolers. Okay, in this episode, we're going to be talking about when to choose what law schools you want to attend. And so typically when people talk about this, they're going to be focusing on what law schools to choose from. But this time we're going to be talking about when, because I think it's nearly as important, at least if you prepare well in advance. So this information can help you shape your performance in your undergraduate, and it can actually help shape your expectations for law school. With that said, I think there are two times when you should evaluate what law schools you want to apply to. The first time is when you decide to attend law school. So the moment you decide that you're going to attend law school, you should be evaluating what law schools you want to go to. And then second is right after you get your score back from the LSAT. So your initial law school application selections, the purpose of selecting law schools this early, right after you decide to go to law school, is so that you can actually set goals of what you want to do in law school and what law schools you want to attend. So for example, say you want to get into a top tier law school. Say you want to get into Harvard or Yale or Stanford or Columbia, whatever it might be, like the top law schools that there are. What you need to do is that you need to evaluate early so that you can actually set goals to meet there. This goes back to a previous principle that we talked about in another episode, which was begin with the end in mind. So your end goal is to attend this top tier law school. Say you want to go to Harvard. Well, what are some of the things that you need to do to set that goal, to reach that goal? Well, you're going to need an extremely high GPA. You're going to need to be interesting in your applicant profile. You're going to need an extremely high LSAT score. So those are three definable steps that you can do to prepare for law school. And by making this initial law school decision, you're able to set that steps and make those goals. And you have something to focus you to take you to law school and to reach that goal. However, plans do change during your undergrad. So continue through your undergrad as if you're going to make those goals, because if you set it properly and work on it, you have a very high chance of meeting those goals. But you're going to want to evaluate a second time. And you'll want to evaluate that right after you get your score back from after taking the LSAT. And the reason for that is because at that point, that's probably going to be during your senior year or right after your junior year. And that information, you'll have a pretty set GPA by that time. And you will have a definable LSAT score. And even though those aren't the only two things that law schools look at, they're the two biggest things that law schools seem to consider. So if you have a low GPA and a low LSAT score, well, you're going to have a lot harder time getting into top tier law schools like Harvard or Yale. And so you need to make sure that you have those scores back before you actually decide to apply to those schools. So once you get your LSAT score, you reevaluate and you look at what law schools you can do realistically. What law schools are within your means, what law schools are going to be, you're going to be able to be accepted to. And that could very well be Harvard, but it might also just be another law school that has a very good quality and traits that you have a very realistic chance of getting into. And you're going to want to evaluate and gather a series of a lot of schools that you can apply to. So here's a little timeline that you can use as you strive to apply for law school. So as soon as you can, preferably in your freshman year, select what law schools you want to be happy attending. Whether it's big top tier law schools, whether it's a local college. And then also, as soon as possible, preferably in your freshman year, evaluate what it takes to be accepted to those law schools. And then just work hard up through your junior and senior year. So maintain your grades, develop your relationships with your professors, do everything that it takes to meet that goal. And then take the LSAT, and then right after getting your LSAT score back, reevaluate your options and choose several law schools to apply for. Okay, well, I hope that was helpful, and hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Law Schoolers. Before I let you go, there are 4 things I want to say. The first thing is if you enjoyed these episodes and if you enjoyed the website, I would invite you to go and join Law Schoolers Pro. And you can do that by going to lawschoolers.com/join. It's a way for you to support us, but there's also a lot of features there that I think you will enjoy. Second thing is that nearly all of our episodes are unedited. The only ones that aren't are pre-law materials, and the reason for that is so you can actually see the legal material in its raw form as I'm learning it as well. The third thing is that the information contained in these episodes are specifically only for educational purposes. They're not to be used as legal advice, and with that, the fourth thing is if it is used as legal advice, we are not liable. That is, Law Schoolers is not liable for any legal outcomes. Thank you again for enjoying the show. Have a good one.